What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden, and this episode is going to be my power rankings, which I do generally every couple of weeks, and usually at least once a month, where I take the top 5 lefty journalists, or top 5 lefty YouTube commentators, or top 5 lefty politicians, and I rank them according to the work that they're doing currently. But I also give a lot of shout outs to these outlets, even if they're not currently doing, crazy amounts of work, because we need a lot of these journalists in particular to be on the ground, and they're having a hard time a lot of times making the kind of money via subscriptions that a lot of the bigger outlets are making. So I like giving them shout outs and talking about the work that they're doing on a regular basis, and that way you also get a good idea of where I'm getting my information from. And I would implore you, if you've got the spare cash, to go subscribe to some of these outlets. They do awesome work, and they do also all have free options, which is all I ever do because I don't have any money. But if you can afford to, they do a lot better work than like the New York Times or Washington Post. And a lot of these stories that have been broken recently, that are big stories, have been broken by these small outlets. So we're going to start at number 5 and work our way up. But first, a huge shout out to ProPublica for putting out that enormous bombshell report on the IRS data that got leaked to them, that basically said that the billionaire class pays effectively 3% in taxes or less after loopholes and deductions, and some of them actually pay zero, like no taxes whatsoever. So that was a crazy report. It took guts to publish it, and more details are going to emerge. And also mad props to whoever the anonymous source was that dropped it off at ProPublica. Holy shit, you guys got some balls. So thank you for doing that. Bravo. Keep up the good work. So these are some of the people that have been doing particularly good work lately, and I would highly recommend you go and subscribe to them. Number 5 is Matt Taibbi. Now, I've been subscribed to him for a couple of months. I first really got a taste of him when he was on Crystal and Kyle and Friends. I didn't know much about him before that. And I believe he just recently broke away from Rolling Stone. And so he's now doing freelance stuff, and he does he's been all over the place. And recently he hasn't done anything that's been particularly groundbreaking or in the news, but he's very, very smart. He's got a hilarious Substack, and I think it's a Substack. I would highly recommend you follow him. He's as sharp as it gets, and one of my favorites. The stuff that he's been doing lately is just basically like, talking about corruption and backroom deals in our Congress and stuff like that. Number 4 is the Daily Poster and David Sirota. Excuse me. That's his new outlet. He was the one that broke the Andrew Cuomo thing, where he found out that Andrew Cuomo was allowing a bunch of untested elderly people back into their nursing homes, and it likely caused all of those extra deaths when COVID first hit. And also the budget issue, where Cuomo came out in his budget had corporate immunity clause built into his budget, and Daily Poster I think broke that as well. And they broke that like 8 months before it became mainstream media. And I think my 5th episode ever on Political Fight Club was going over the Daily Poster doing that. So they've got Walter Bragman, Julia Rock, all of these guys do. Andrew Perez, they do great work, so I highly recommend. I've been following them since their inception. Number 3 is Status Coup, and that's Jordan Sheridan. I've only been following him for the last couple of months too. He used to be at TYT and then broke off and did Status Coup, and they've done some of the best work I've seen on the Black Lives Matter protests. They still to this day do great coverage on the ground of Black Lives Matter, and their recent bombshell was when they dropped the story last week about how Amazon has been union busting, and in particular I think it was in Bessemer. They went down, or maybe it was in New York, because there's a new one in New York, a drive for Amazon unionization in New York, and they were on the ground reporting there, and they found out that there was all of these like super shady things that Amazon was doing, like building a fence around where a lot of the activists were setting up to alert people that were walking into these factories, the Amazon factory, their rights and what union people are offering to them, and also their rights in terms of like not having Amazon Union bust on them. And so what they did is they built like a fence literally around those people so people couldn't see them. Beyond that, they have all this footage of like inside the actual Amazon factory of all this propaganda that's being posted up on the walls and inside bathroom stalls that is just straight up lies, telling you to watch out for the union guys. They're the bad guys. That you got to know that they're the ones trying to get you to make less money, which is just bullshit. So Status Quo has done a great job for years, but particularly lately. And Jordan Sheridan is awesome, and they are getting absolutely hindered by the YouTube algorithm. So I highly recommend a follow. Subscribe to them on YouTube. I think they've got a Substack as well. Help them out because they are on the ground regularly for this stuff, and we're going to need them in the future. Number 3, Abby Martin. She hosts the Empire Files on YouTube, and I'm putting her. She's done some great work like with the Middle East, but I'm putting her in here particularly high this time because she just won her lawsuit against the state of Georgia. She sued the state of Georgia when they took her off of a speaking engagement last year at Southern Georgia University, and because she would not sign away her BDS stances, basically saying you have to agree that you're not going to talk about BDS or boycott, divesting, and sanctioning Israel, and you can't talk ill of Israel in anything that you say here, and you have to agree to like not do any more BDS if you want to speak at this university. She said, no, I'm not going to sign this. I retain my right to say my ideas on BDS, which is her First Amendment right. And then when they wouldn't let her speak and they canceled her speaking engagement, she sued them and won. She won a couple of weeks ago, and that's why I'm adding her in so high, is because this is a huge, huge win for free speech. And I'm so glad that she had the stones to go out there and actually sue the state. She won. It was an obvious violation of her First Amendment right. So it's awesome. Now, you can't be told you can't speak in a certain state or at a certain university simply because of your views on Israel, which is awesome. It's a victory for free speech. So awesome, Abby Martin, good job. And her show, The Empire Files, is really, really awesome. Number 1 is by far, for this power ranking session, is Aaron Mate. Not only has he done excellent work on the ground in Syria covering the OPCW cover-up, which is the Syria gas attacks, that the original inspectors of the Syria gas attacks, they dissent from what the OPCW officially put out in their report, saying that a lot of it was heavily doctored and that the Syrian gas attacks cannot possibly have happened the way that a lot of mainstream media in this country says it did, which is that Assad was gassing his own people. That narrative does not hold up. Aaron broke that story. And then beyond that, as if the journalism wasn't great enough, when the Young Turks slandered him, he's been crushing them ever since too. So it's like he's just done absolutely great work for on a number of levels, man. He's on the ground covering something which is, in my opinion, probably the biggest story of the last couple of years, the cover-up with the OPCW. And he also, when somebody slandered him on this, non-journalists like TYT, he doesn't hold back and he takes them down too, which I love that. I love it. So he's a number 1 overall seed without a doubt, and I love the work that he continues to do. He just got back from Syria like 5 or 6 days ago. So he's doing great stuff. He's a young dude. He's got a very bright future. I highly recommend you. He's at the Gray Zone, and I think he's got a Substack as well. Look him up, follow him, give him a sub, and I guarantee you won't be disappointed. So that's my top 5. Matt Taibbi, The Daily Poster, and David Sirota. Status Quo and Jordan Sheridan. Abby Martin and The Empire Files, and Aaron Mate and The Gray Zone. And I will update those accordingly, guys. And this way you also get a good idea of where I'm getting my information from. I'll update you periodically. Some people I spend a little bit more time watching than others because there's only so many hours in the day. But these guys have been doing absolutely great work, and they deserve, at minimum, our fellowship, if not our sponsorship. Let's get behind them. Let's sub if we can. All right, guys, keep fighting the good fight out there. I'll get another episode out to you soon.